Here are my notes. My name is Tamara Morgan, and I'm doing an informative speech on gestational surrogacy. How many of you know someone that has had a child via gestational surrogacy or has been a surrogate themselves? You might think that you don't know anyone, but surrogacy is actually more common than you might think. A surrogate is defined as a woman that carries a child for someone else, known as the intended parent. There are two types of surrogacy, traditional and gestational. Traditional surrogacy is where the surrogate uses her own egg and is artificially inseminated by the intended father's sperm. Gestational surrogacy is when the egg from the intended mother and the sperm from an intended father or a donor from either one is combined to make a embryo, and the fertilized embryo is then placed inside the surrogate's uterus to achieve a healthy pregnancy. The baby does not have any biological ties to the surrogate. In my eyes, surrogacy is an amazing, beautiful, and very interesting. It's also very personal to me, as I have been a gestational surrogate twice for the same family. The first time was in 2018 when that pregnancy led to the birth of their first son. And then they asked me to be a surrogate for them again in 2020, and that ended in the birth of their second son in February of 2021. My goal today is to inform you about gestational surrogacy, how it works, and the benefits that come from it. There are many reasons that a couple might choose to use a gestational surrogate. One, one reason is infertility in a heterosexual couple. Infertility can be caused by several different reasons, from low sperm count to PCOS to uterine abnormalities. There's really no one reason for infertility, and many couples will try the traditional fertility treatments to be able to achieve a pregnancy. 1 in 7 couples struggle with infertility, as discussed by Marcos Ferrando in an article in Positive Health. Ferrando also goes on in that same article to talk about how age plays a factor in infertility too. Many couples have exhausted the traditional means of infertility treatments, and when they are still not able to achieve a pregnancy through these means, that often leads them to surrogacy. Another reason that someone might choose to use a gestational surrogate to achieve a pregnancy is the same sex couples. Same sex couples that want a biological child of their own, oftentimes their only choice is to use a gestational carrier to achieve that. Gestational surrogacy is a much more complicated process than most people might think. It involves physical and psychological testing, as well as a long legal process with many steps. Most intended parents go through an agency to get matched with a gestational surrogate. A intended parent fills out a profile, as does the gestational surrogate when they apply. The profile contains information such as likes, dislikes, um, what the what type of relationship is expected from both parties during the pregnancy and after the pregnancy, what each party is comfortable with and agrees upon medically, such as a selective reduction if it is needed. Once a surrogate is matched with an intended parent, the surrogate undergoes an extensive physical, emotional, and psychological screening. Once the once the surrogate is cleared from these, um, then they will go on with the then they will go on with the process of the surrogacy. As Sam Everingham puts it in his article in The Australian, only a certain type of woman has the ability to give the gift of life to another. Surrogacy is definitely not for the faint of heart. There's a long process involved, not just with the legal and the medical and psychological screenings, but with the process, the scientific process itself, the creating of the embryos, and the process of getting the surrogate's body ready for the embryo transfer, which involves weeks of hormone injections. Surrogacy is also mutually beneficial for both parties. The intended parents benefit by getting the child that they wanted, and the surrogate benefits from the compensation that's outlined in the in the contract, as well as the gaining a feeling of fulfillment through helping a family achieve their dream. I get asked a lot of questions about surrogacy, one being, how can I give the baby up? In my eyes, I don't give the baby up, I give the baby back because it was never my baby to start with. I'm very open about it, and it is my hope that more people will see it for what it is instead of something negative. It is my hope that today you have gained a new perspective about surrogacy, learned a little about how it works, and also see the benefits that can come from it.